Good morning, good evening, or good night, wherever you may be in this beautiful world. My name is Lily Perry, and in this video, I'm going to show you how I painted this little still life in oil paints. I really hope you enjoy the video, and let's get painting. So the very first thing I like to do is to set up my still life with things that I think would be really fun to paint. And one of them is this nest because it has so many lovely textures and it reminds me of Albrecht Dürer's young hair and it just gives me happy feelings. So I love adding in things like marbles or shiny vases just to give some variety in the textures, and also this cat because velvet and fur can be quite a fun challenge to paint. And I've also got some gum leaves and an iris. The next thing I do is just start off with a bit of willow charcoal. It can be pretty forgiving on some surfaces, and I find that it doesn't drift up through the pigment like graphite tends to. I'm kind of using a triangle composition for the main part, but also there's some nice things happening, like we have the gum leaves sweeping down and some spindly bits of the nest jutting out. I try to follow some ideas about composition, but I also just like exploring as I go along. So I use any brand of artist grade oil color. I'm not fussy about a particular brand, and I also like using cold pressed linseed oil as the binder. Just a little note of caution on linseed oil. It's really important to read safety warnings about this because the oil rags and applicators can spontaneously combust if stored improperly. I've put a link below with some info on this just in case you want to read up about it. So for a painting of this size, I normally stick to a few small round synthetic brushes and a flat edge and a couple of angled flats. I use a palette knife to mix most of my colors before I start painting, and this really gives me time to be deliberate about the color choices I'm making and helps me get straight into flow state. If I'm mixing a color and I have a little trouble, what I'll do is I'll hold that color up to the object itself and try to get a match that way. And if you're really struggling and want to mute something, you can always try adding in the complementary. So this green has red in it, for example. If you're trying to get a fine edge with a round brush and you're struggling a bit, what you can do is kind of flatten it out on the palette and that'll give you a fine edge. So the palette's all mixed and I'm gonna let you watch me paint. I initially wanted to do a still life that had blues and yellows, very much inspired by Margaret Ollie's paintings, but in the end it came out purple and yellow. The iris was much more purple when it opened, and by some happy chance, my Visual Studio Code theme was also very purple and yellow. It's Fairy Floss by Sailor Mercury and you can find it on GitHub. I'll also link it below. I really enjoyed painting the colours and shapes in this still life and finding flow in painting. And I hope this video helps you find some inspiration to go and create or do something you enjoy. In the description below you'll find a list of the tools I've used and links to the art mentioned and some safety info. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll try my very best to answer them. And if you have any oil painting tips for me, I would also love to hear those. Thank you so much for watching. I truly hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.